Let's talk about a new book from Ashley R. Deutschmann that dives headfirst into one of the most heartbreaking questions in all of Christian history. It's a question that has left scars on communities, families, and friendships for centuries.
I mean, really, think about that. Just about every major split in church history, every painful schism, it almost always started with someone who was genuinely convinced that something was deeply wrong. And you know what? They were probably right. Something was wrong. But as this book explores, having a righteous cause doesn't automatically protect you from a broken process. So how does that genuine cry for reform get twisted and curdled into division and rupture? That's the core question we're looking at today.
So it's really important to understand the spirit of this book right from the start. This is not an attack. It's not pointing fingers at any specific person or movement. Instead, it's framed as a guide, a quiet reflection written from a place of humility. It's trying to understand the patterns that can lead even the best-intentioned people to tear apart the very communities they love.
And this quote, which serves as the book's epigraph, just says it all, doesn't it? It sets the entire tone. It suggests that the real antidote to the ego, to that certainty that so often drives us apart, is this deep, personal posture of humility. It's a constant gut check, a reminder that any true reform has to be about Christ's glory, not our own. This approach is absolutely key. The author, Ashley Deutschmann, is very clear that he's not writing this as some expert on a mountaintop with all the answers. He's writing as a student, a fellow pilgrim who's wrestling with these exact same questions. Now, the book is packed with extensive research, but it's not there to just win an argument. It's an invitation for you, the reader, to dig in, to check the sources, and to really test these ideas for yourself. It's a book that wants you to think, not just to nod along. Okay, so if good intentions can go so wrong, how do we even begin to diagnose what's happening? Well, the book gives us a really simple but incredibly powerful tool. It's a framework called the 3 A's of schism. Think of these as the telltale signs, the human dynamics that can hijack a needed correction and turn it into a destructive mess. The first A is agendas. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. An agenda is just a driving concern, and it's often a totally righteous one. But here's the danger. A single agenda, no matter how good, can act like blinders. It can narrow our vision so much that we lose sight of the bigger picture, of the church's universal, or Catholic, breadth. We start to see everything only through the lens of our one issue.
And then comes the second A, ambition. This is that very human, gravitational pull to gather people around our agenda, to build a movement, to command a following. And look, leadership itself isn't wrong. But when that ambition hardens, when it creates a structure that's loyal only to itself and starts resisting any outside counsel or accountability, well, that's when it becomes a powerful engine for division. It creates a very clear us and a them.
And this brings us to the final A, arrogance. And honestly, this might be the most dangerous one of all. It's that quiet, private conviction that we are right, and by extension, everyone who disagrees is wrong. What makes it so powerful, so tricky, is that it so often wraps itself in spiritual language. A phrase like, "the Spirit has shown me," can be used to just shut down all debate. How can you argue with that without being accused of quenching the Spirit? It's a conversation ender. And here's the kicker. These 3 forces almost never act alone. They lock together. A pressing agenda gathers a following. Personal ambition builds a structure around it. And then a rising tide of arrogance cements the whole thing in place and makes it impossible to correct. It's a predictable, powerful, and absolutely tragic pattern. But okay, this book doesn't just diagnose the disease and leave us there. It also offers a way forward, a kind of compass for navigating these treacherous waters. And it finds this compass in something very old, the traditional 4 marks of the church. It takes them from being abstract ideas and turns them into incredibly practical questions for anyone who wants to see change. This is such a brilliant tool. It forces reformers to just pause and ask some hard questions. First, unity. Is what I'm proposing going to break fellowship? Second, holiness. Is this really about calling people to a deeper life with God through mercy, or is it just about policing who's in and who's out? Third, Catholicity. Is this change something the global historic church would even recognize, or is it just our own little idea? And finally, apostolicity. Are we honoring both the teaching of the apostles and the structure of leadership they passed down? These 4 questions are a powerful guardrail against going off the cliff into division. So where does this all lead us? If we can diagnose the problem with the 3 A's and get our bearings with the 4 marks, what does the actual path forward look like? Well, the book argues that it's a path defined from start to finish by humility.
So here are the practical habits that path requires. First, we've got to widen our lens beyond our one pet issue. Second, we have to submit our personal ambitions to the wisdom of the community. Third, we have to test our private certainty against the discernment of the wider church. And finally, we have to insist on accountability. This doesn't mean you can't be courageous. It just means that our courage has to be ecclesial. That is, it needs to be rooted in the life of the whole church, not just in our own solitary conviction.
And the book brings it all home with this final, crucial verse. This reminds us why any of this matters so much. This difficult, humbling work of trying to bring about reform without causing more rupture, it's not just some internal church housekeeping issue. According to Jesus' own prayer, the world's ability to believe the gospel is actually at stake. The unity of the church isn't just a nice idea, it's central to its mission. And that right there is a thought worth wrestling with long after you've closed the book.